Hi there, and welcome to today's video. First, I'll be sharing a twisted story with you, so just sit back, relax, and enjoy. Then we'll go through some vocabulary practice together, where you can learn and review key words from the story. Let's get started. Chapter 1. The Inheritance. A few weeks ago, I got a letter from a solicitor. It said I'd inherited something from a relative I didn't even know about. The relative was my great-aunt, someone I'd never met or even heard of. The whole thing was a bit weird, to be honest. I don't usually have much to do with distant family, but I was curious. The solicitor told me I'd be getting an old clock that had belonged to her for years. The clock arrived a few days later. It came in this huge wooden crate, and I had to wrestle with it a bit to open it. When I finally got it out, I was impressed. It was tall, made of dark polished wood, with these really detailed carvings along the sides. It looked like one of those clocks you'd see in a big posh house. It felt a bit out of place in my small flat, but I thought it might add a bit of character. So I put it in the corner of the living room where it could be seen. That first evening, I decided to wind it up. It came with a little key, and it was pretty straightforward. I turned the key, set the time, and it started ticking softly. The ticking was kind of nice, actually, like a gentle background sound. It made the room feel a bit cozier. I was feeling quite pleased with it. But then, later that night, things got a bit strange. I woke up around 2 a.m., feeling a bit off. I looked over at the clock, and the hands were stuck at 11 o'clock. It was odd, because I'd only wound it a few hours before, so it should have been working fine. I got up to check it, and as soon as I touched the clock, the hands started moving again, really fast, like they were catching up. I felt this cold breeze, which didn't make sense because all the windows were shut. I tried not to think too much about it, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Chapter 2. Odd Happenings. The next morning, I noticed a book on the floor. It had been on the coffee table the night before, but now it was across the room. I stood there for a minute, trying to figure out how it got there. I convinced myself I must have knocked it over without realizing. Still, it was strange. After that, more odd things started happening. Every time I wound the clock, stuff in the flat seemed to move. Chairs would be in different places, or the curtains would be slightly open when I knew I'd closed them. At first, I tried to ignore it, but then I started hearing things too. At night, I'd hear these faint whispers, like someone talking in another room. I'd get up to check, but no one was there, of course. It wasn't a big flat, so there weren't many places for someone to hide. Then one night, I woke up because the clock was chiming. It was much louder than usual, almost like it was angry. I went into the living room, and the clock's hands were moving backwards. The ticking sounded strange, like it was going faster than it should. Then, I saw something, a shadow moving across the room. It looked like a person, but when I looked properly, there was nothing there. The air felt heavy, like the room was full of something I couldn't see. Chapter 3. The Truth. After that night, I started seeing things. Little flashes, just for a second, like people in old-fashioned clothes sitting in my living room, talking like they belonged there. Then they'd disappear. It was happening more and more, and by then, I knew it had something to do with the clock. I called the solicitor again, hoping to get more information about my great-aunt. He told me she'd lived alone in a big old house for most of her life. Then he mentioned something strange. She'd kept the clock locked away in a room and never used it. She wouldn't even let anyone else touch it. That's when I started to feel really uneasy. I decided to have a proper look at the clock. While I was checking it over, I found a small drawer hidden on the side. Inside, there was an old letter from my great-aunt. The letter explained everything. The clock wasn't just a normal antique. It was actually a prison. She said that one of our ancestors had trapped an evil spirit inside it years ago. And by winding the clock, I was slowly setting it free. Now, I'm terrified. I haven't touched the clock since I found the letter, but it doesn't seem to matter. The ticking hasn't stopped, and the strange things keep happening. I hear footsteps at night, whispers, and the occasional chime, even though I haven't wound the clock in days. I'm too scared to sleep, and I don't know what to do. I can't even get rid of the clock, because I'm terrified it'll follow me. What if it's too late to stop it? Ready to level up your vocabulary? Let's dive into the synonym challenge with keywords from the story. How many you got right? Let me know in the comments. And feel free to share what stories you'd like to see next.